resume on John chapter 19, but we'll finish up with few verses on chapter 18. The last topic we were discussing is the trial of Jesus. And we established that during the trial, the one on trial was actually not Jesus. Because you can only try somebody if they have a case, but there was no case. They could not bring a coherent accusation against him. They could not find agreeing witnesses. And so everything was a hoax. It's a made-up accusation. And that is the way of the world. The way of the world is they don't have to have truth. They just need to open their mouth. And in a room or in a place where gossip is popular, you don't really need to establish anything. It will fly, okay? So now let's look at, we said before when we started this series that the reason why the Gospel of John was written is so that you may believe, and that through that faith, of course, you will be saved. So the reason for the right Gospel of John is faith. Faith in hearing the Word and faith to receive that truth, that Word that we are given. And so John is called as the Gospel of Belief. So from the trial of Jesus to his death, burial, and resurrection, we continue to see faith and unbelief rising. Okay, so these two are always in tension against each other. And that same tension is what you and I feel all the time. Now, if you are used to obeying the word faith, you will sense that your faith is rising a lot more. But unbelief is always on the edges. So these two will always be struggling against each other. And truth is related to that. So first, let's talk about that. Truth, faith, and unbelief. Let's look once again on the remaining verses of John 18, starting on verse 33. John 18, starting on verse 33. Then Pilate went back into the headquarters, summoned Jesus, and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Are you asking this on your own, or have others told you about me?" I am not a Jew, am I? Pilate replied. Your own nation and the chief priests handed you over to me. By the way, these two verses, 34 and 35, that's the only background that I can find later on in what we will be reading, when Pilate put an inscription on top of the cross, which is Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. This is the only background that I can find, the discussion where that came from. And so Pilate here was disclaiming, I'm not a Jew. Of course he was not. And he was saying, your own religion, your high priest, your own people handed you to me. Are you their king? Can you imagine the implication? You betray your king. You are a traitor to your king. My kingdom is not of this world, Jesus said. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight, so that I wouldn't be handed over to the Jews. But as it is written, my kingdom is not from here. Now, look at this. The Jews handed Jesus over to Pilate. But the way Jesus is looking at it is, if my kingdom is here, I would not have been handed over to the Jews. Jesus said, I was handed over to the Jews. The Jews handed me over to you, but actually, the reason why I'm here on this trial is because I was handed over to the Jews on certain charges which they don't know what, because, again, no coherence in what they were saying. Verse 37. You're a king then, Pilate asked. You say that I am a king? Jesus replied, I was born for this, and I have come into the world for this, to testify to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth, listen to my voice. What is truth? Pilate asked. After he had said this, he went out to the Jews again and told them, I found no grounds for charging him. Now that is odd because you brought a victim to a judge. In this case, a governor. Normally, when you bring a victim before a judge, there is already an accusation. Now they brought him to a judge for the judge to find an accusation. And this is what the judge says, I find nothing. Now, of course, this is a summary of what happened, but you can bet the people of Pilate, they started inquiring, and there were investigations, no matter how short it was, concerning what Jesus was up to. And then he said, I cannot help you. Nothing. I cannot charge him with anything. Okay, so in 1838, that is verse 38, Pilate asked Jesus the question, what is truth? Remember that movie of Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise? What's the title? A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth, Now that may be a good movie line for Tom Cruise, but I'll tell you the truth in it is so true, is so strong. For example, if I ask you this question, do you want the truth? That's a question. Gusto niyo po ba ng katotohanan? Actually, the good answer to that is yes. But that is just a polite answer. Most people don't want the truth. Yeah. Most of us don't want the truth. Yeah. Because when the truth is presented to us, most people cannot handle the truth. Because if we can handle the truth, the world would have been better already. But especially the politicians, they don't like the truth. They like lies. Because even if they come up with the knowledge of what is true, they refuse to act on it. And the citizens in general don't like the truth. So when people say, I like the truth, by saying that, they are even lying. So let's focus it on our spiritual lives. Do we want the truth? Now, for some, when they come to the knowledge of the truth, after coming to the knowledge of the truth, looks the other way. I know how many times I will be asked, Pastor said, what should I do? And we look at the scriptures, well, this is what the Bible says. And after you show them what the truth says, they walk away as if they wasted my time, basically. Now, some pastors, when they say counseling, they jump in counseling. I don't jump into counselings. Because a lot of people, when they do counseling, they just waste your time. They don't like the truth. Because you give them the scriptures, you give them the truth, they walk away from it. Now, when you say, I like the truth, or what is an unbeliever, when you refuse to act on the truth, that is equivalent to unbelief. When you are presented the truth, and you refuse to act on it, that's equivalent to unbelief. Unbelief is not acting on what you know. Okay? The reason why humanity fell out of faith is because, according to Romans chapter 1, they know the truth. They know it. And yet walk away. For example, they know that there is God and there is one creator. And they walked away from the knowledge of God and decided, I will make a graven image and then bow to it and say, this is my God. Now they know it because Adam was alive, and it took almost 1,000 years for the devil to put him down. And so there was a transmission of the truth. And yet, the people refuse And the Bible is very clear. They exchange the truth. Women, men, they exchange their natural use. Women start acting like men, and men start acting like women. They exchange the truth. The fact of the matter is, if you are a man, your anatomy is different. If you are a woman, your anatomy is different. And yet people are saying, no, you have a choice. No, you have no choice. You are born either as a male or a female. Only foolish scientists are saying, no, you have a choice. They refuse to acknowledge the truth. Well, there are several reasons. Political expediency, whatever it is, you know. And in fact, there was a time they have a DNA for everything. There is a drunkard DNA. There is a drug DNA. There is a thieving DNA. They attribute everything to DNA. They cannot come up with anything anymore. Well, the Bible is very simple. It's a fallen man. And if you don't accept that truth, you walk away from it, you choose unbelief. And so Jesus, that's why people reject Jesus, because Jesus is truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Because when you reject truth, you will reject Jesus, because He is truth. That's why we try to come up with alternative truth. Knowing the truth requires that you believe it. However, we know that others look the other way after coming to the knowledge of the truth. Now, as Pilate asks the question, what is the truth? Okay, what is truth? He was actually already confronted with overwhelming set of truths. This guy is asking, what is truth? Well, he was already confronted. The truth was standing before him. It's like parents, you know your child is rebelling in front of you. You refuse to look at it. Oh, he's good. No, he's not. Oh, she's good. No, she's not. Right in front of you, answering you back like you owe your child something. And then parents refuse that. Spouses are the same. Something wrong is going on with the relationship. You refuse to look at it. So you are not really interested in the truth. I mean, you look at your grades, for example, if you're in school. You're already failing, and you keep telling people who ask you, is it okay? Yeah, it's okay. Well, you're not okay, but you refuse. Truth is hardcore. There is no bending to it. You know, it's like bamboo tree. Yeah. You can burn a bamboo tree, it will not bend. You know that? You burn a bamboo tree, it will not bend. Truth is the same. You can do whatever you want to do with it, it will not bend. You know? And Jesus is standing right there in front of Pilate. And Pilate asked the question, what is truth? He found no lie in Christ, but kept asking, what is truth? And so, because he was unable to act properly or accordingly, there comes a struggle. Jesus is innocent. I find nothing against him. And yet this guy won't set him free. Do you know that you don't have to be guilty right now to go to jail? We know that. You don't have to be guilty to go to jail. You don't have to be guilty to be accused of anything. My pastor in the Philippines told me of a story of a young pastor. He was married to a gorgeous young lady, and they were newly married. Now, there was how would I say this? A little bit older woman, you know, and she likes him. But he just got married. So she asked for counseling one day. She went, back in those days, the pastor's office has no, you know, they normally, for privacy and confidentiality, it's all solid door. That's why right now, I don't know of any pastor's office that doesn't have a glass because of stories like this. Well, the secretary is outside his office, and this woman, which is older than him, walked in there, and a few minutes later, she screamed, "Rape!" Yeah, that's it. His ministry was finished. Yeah, the ministry is finished. There was a secretary outside. No way it can happen. But the story is finished. Yeah. Because we think we have the luxury of choosing what to believe. And we think we have the sovereignty to say that truth is what you say it is. No. Truth is not what you say it is. Truth is what is. The moment you begin to say truth is what you say it is, that's corrupt. Okay? When you begin to say, well, this young boy can choose whether he's a boy or a girl, that is corrupt. Because the boy was born as a boy. Whether you accept it or not, you can come up with all kinds of scientific terms that you don't even understand, but that is still a boy. You know. The Pharisees were fabricating accusations against Jesus. Why? Because of jealousy. Yet Pilate did exactly what the religious leaders pressured him to do. Has anybody ever forced you to do something you really don't like it? Huh? Come on, do this. Yeah, but I don't like it. Just say this. But that's a lie. I'm telling you, I'm your mom. Say it. But mom, it's a lie. I'm your dad. Say it. Don't say anything else. So you know that you are being told to tell a lie, but you were coerced into ignoring what is true. Yeah, and that is how Pilate feel. Remember, he was the governor of Judea. After the first Agrippa died, his kingdom was divided into three. And so Agrippa later on took one, and he was the governor there. And the high priesthood, you can buy high priesthood in those days already. And so he was the supreme ruler of that piece of property. And yet this little religious leaders was able to force him. We want you to condemn him to death. He said, he's not guilty. Then why don't you set him free? Because of them. You see? So, accusations can be fabricated. What actually happened is when Jesus confronted him, he confronted Pilate with the real issue. The real issue is no longer the truth. Like for most of us, if not all of us, the real issue is not really towards the truth. The real issue now is your attitude towards the truth. Okay? That is now the real issue, your attitude towards the truth. Jesus is the truth. He will not lie. Pilate needs the truth. He saw the truth. He turned his back from the truth and took side with the lies. Meaning he chose not to believe. Okay? I know how many times if I make a statement, my kids will say, well, Papa, I don't believe it. I say, why am I asking you to believe it? I said, who cares if you believe it or not? This is the truth. Yeah, I'll say the same thing to my wife. Well, I don't believe you. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just telling you this is what happened. Sometimes I never told you that. You told me that. I said, I'm telling you, I never told you that. No, granted, for example, if I forget, then she's right. But for example, if I really didn't say something, say, well, you said, no, I didn't say that. Have you noticed sometimes in our question and answers, you will say, well, Pastor say you said this. I said, no, I didn't say that. Strongly, I didn't say that. The context of what I said is this, and this is the sentence. And then you will look, oh. You see? But I'm not arguing anymore whether you believe it or not. You see, it's your attitude now. Because if your attitude is, you can fabricate lies and believe in a lie, that's your attitude. Meaning, truth is not important to you. And that really, that attitude towards the truth sums up our behavior towards the Scriptures. Do you believe in God? That's not a trick question, okay? Let me repeat that slowly. Do you believe in God? Well, if you believe in God, what's your attitude towards that? Because then the moment you start having an attitude that is contrary to that, that is equivalent to unbelief. A lot of people say, I believe in God. Now, James said this, even the demons believe God and shudder. They shake. That means head knowledge, very different from heart knowledge, and very different from knowing what that knowledge is. Okay, hey little kid, you know the story of the moth who got burned? Because the mother moth says, don't come close to that fire because it will burn you. And you can bet, although that is a fable, you can bet while the baby moth was approaching the fire, he can feel the heat. And yet he kept approaching the fire, and so he burned. Yeah. The attitude towards it is different. And one of the things that I've learned raising the kids is when the stove is open, they want to touch the thing. Now, this starts with Joseph. I did this practically to all my kids. Don't come close to the stove, it will burn you. They still come close. Now, they have the truth that the stove can burn you, can burn them. So I said, how in the world? I know an accident is about to happen. So I have to come up with a solution. Well, I came up with a solution. I said, you want to touch the stove? You know, where it's cold. I turn it on and then let them touch it and let them feel it heating up. And I said, I told you it's going to be hot. And so I turn it off. Because when it's just heating up, it will not burn them. And they realize, oh, it's really hot. Because I'm very aware these kids are so smart, they're acting silly. They really want to touch the fire. But the truth is, it will burn them. Do you know that you cannot take sin in your bosom, the Bible says? You cannot, it's compared to a coal. You cannot take fire in your bosom and not be burned. That is equivalent to sin. If you take sin in your bosom, it will burn you. It's not a question of, no, I'm excited. It will burn you. And yet people still take sin in their bosom. So now the question, the issue actually is no longer knowing the truth, but attitude towards the truth. Now, the other thing is this. For God so loved the world, He gave His only begotten Son. That includes Pilate. So Jesus is standing before Pilate, and He loves Pilate, okay? It may not look like it because it was a judge, a victim in front of a judge, but Jesus loves Pilate. Jesus loves those Pharisees, even though they condemn him to die. So this is a critical moment for Him because He doesn't like Pilate to go to hell. Now, Jesus doesn't have any illusion regarding the outcome of the false trial. He knows that He's going to die. That is established. That's the will of the Father. Let this cup pass over me, nevertheless not as I will, but as thou wilt. So He knew it. It's like if God tells you what you will be, you already know it. When God made known to me that I'll become a minister of the gospel, I told the Lord, well, if you're going to send me, I don't want to go, I said, unless I knew that my family is saved. Yeah. So I fasted 3 times for 2 years. And so my parents got saved. So my whole family got saved. I could not imagine going to the missions field and one of my siblings or one of my parents doesn't have the knowledge of God. Now, what they did with that knowledge after they received Christ, it's their choice. But I have to do my part to make sure that they are witnessed to, even as I was witnessed to by my kuya. And so they got saved, you see. But it's no longer an issue of whether I will go to the ministry or not. I am going to the ministry. But I would like to see my parents get saved. Now, Jesus is going to die. Why this waste of time? Because He still wants Pilate to get saved. He wants those people to get saved. Paul said, it is not being slow on the part of God, but it is actually giving chance for people to repent. And some people misinterpret that. That is actually surrendering. Okay? Jesus already surrendered to the will of the Father. Therefore, he surrendered his life to save man. He even predicted his death, and he's expecting it. You know. I believe at this point, Jesus' concern in front of Pilate is the eternal destiny of Pilate. This is why he came to earth in the first place, to save the lost. Now, confronted with the truth, like some people, Pilate's attitude deteriorated. By the way, when you don't do something about the truth, your attitude will deteriorate. Have you noticed when you're in search for truth, your attitude is high? I really want to know. I want to know. The moment you come to the knowledge of what you want to know, and it's not to your liking, your passion changes. That's a deterioration. And you all of us you can relate to that. Your passion changes. It's like a lot of ministers I know when they are preaching, you've got to discipline your kids. You've got to be the head of the house until they get married and have kids. Then they are no longer as strong. The truth never changed. But they lost the passion. That's called attitude. Okay? That's called attitude. So, the moment your attitude or passion towards the truth change, it will go somewhere. Now, there is no in-between truth. You can't say, if you don't like heaven, you're going to go to hell. There is no purgatory. So, there is nothing in between truth and lie. The moment you reject the truth, you don't go halfway. You don't go gray. You go black or white. So the moment you start rejecting the truth, you move to lie. Okay? No in between. You just move to lie, from truth to lie. Look at Pilate. He condemned Jesus like a common criminal. But that is a lie. He was not a criminal. He never hurt anybody. Yeah. But his judgment, even if he washed his hands, and that's what most people do, they try to wash their hands. Well, I didn't really know. Oh, I'm not sure. You know, from I know to I'm not sure, you're washing your hands. You're like Pilate, you're washing your hands now. But that washing of the hands still put Jesus on the cross. So the moment you deteriorate from the truth, you move to lie. Nothing in between. You just move to lie. Okay, so let's go to John 19. Let's start on verse 1. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. Flogging a person who is not guilty. The soldiers also twisted together a crown of thorns, put it on his head, and clothed him in a purple robe. And they kept coming up to him and saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" and were slapping his face. Pilate went outside again and said to them, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know I find no grounds for charging him." Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. Pilate said to them, "Here is the man." When the chief priests and the temple servants saw him, they shouted, "Crucify! Crucify!" Pilate responded, "Take him and crucify him yourselves, since I find no grounds for charging him." There was no charge, and they want him crucified already, you know. "We have a law," the Jews replied to him. "And according to that law, he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God." When Pilate heard this statement, he was more afraid than ever. Look at this. Now he's afraid. From seeking the truth, now he's afraid. The moment you are confronted with truth, if you are not willing to obey it, it will put fear in your heart. He went back to the headquarters and asked Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus did not give him an answer. So Pilate said to him, "Do you refuse to speak to me? Don't you know that I have the authority to release you and the authority to crucify you?" Now he is bragging. "Don't you know I have the authority to release you? Why don't you release him?" A righteous judge, if you find somebody not guilty, you release. He could not release because of the political pressure coming from the Jews. So he's bragging at this point. "You would have no authority over me at all," Jesus answered, "if it hadn't been given you from above. This is why the man who handed me over to you has the greater sin." That's accountability. From that moment, Pilate kept trying to release him. Look at this. First he was afraid and kept trying to release him. But the Jews shouted, "If you release this man, you are not Caesar's friend. Anyone who makes himself king opposes Caesar." When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus outside. He sat down on the judge's seat in a place called the Stone Pavement, but in Aramaic, Gabbatha. It was the preparation day for the Passover, and it was about noon. Then he told the Jews, "Here is your king." About noon, so it's getting close. They cannot be there when the Sabbath begins. They shouted, "Take him away! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Should I crucify your king? We have no king but Caesar." That is a national backsliding. Remember Mordecai? He refused to bow to Haman because Jews only bow to God. Jews only have one king, and that is God. Now look at this, the exchange. "We have no king but Caesar." That's a backsliding statement right there. The chief priests answered. Then he handed him over to be crucified. Then they took Jesus away. One of the things that I want you to notice about a person deteriorating from truth to lie is the physical movement of Pilate. He go there, he go here, go to the crowd, go back to the bench, go to the crowd. I mean, this guy, in the Philippine language, we have a saying, parang turumpo. This guy was what's the English of turumpo? Taps, right? Taps, yeah. Spinning tops, spinning tops. That's how Pilate. No, normally if you're a judge like that, you want a witness, you call, you send, you call. He's the one going back and forth. This guy was practically in terror, because the moment you want to stay in the truth, you are relaxed, you're safe. Oh, but the moment you are moving or deteriorating from truth to lie, that's when you become frantic. You see? And you can see that from Pilate. Let's look at the decline of Pilate from truth to lie. And we can discern the same thing from anybody, from our lives. Okay, first is a fear. Okay, that's the first sign, fear. The Jews argued in verse 7, "We have a law, and according to the law, he ought to die because he made himself the Son of God." This made Pilate afraid, especially the mentioned Son of God. Why? Pilate is not Jewish. He's Roman. Now, the Romans took a lot of belief or tradition from the Greeks. And the Romans are guilty of proclaiming their emperor to be God. So the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, they really believe that a king or a mighty man could be an incarnation of a god, or could be a demigod, like the legendary Hercules. Of course, it's fiction, but Hercules is a demigod. he is a son of God. Apollos is known to be a son of God. You see? So Pilate has this background. So when they begin to say, well, he declared himself to be the son of God. Whoa, he's not Jewish. He's thinking, son of God. What, son of Jupiter? What is this? Now he wants to find out, because if he condemns a son of God, that son of God, the father God of that son, can strike you dead. Now he's afraid. Now remember, he's very religious, in a sense, because they are bathed in religion in those days. So now you are confronted with your lie, and there comes a point you really believe your lie. Now I'll tell you this, people who worship idols are really hoping that that idol will talk. They really hope that. I mean, when I was Catholic, I was hoping that somehow, maybe this piece of stone will say something, you know. You begin to believe that. I mean, some of you, for example, you take medicines that are not really medicines, but you are really hoping it will heal you. You are really hoping. And even, for example, if you are doing something that you know is not going to yield any result, say investment, you are really hoping it will, even if it's already caught to be a lie. There comes a point when you refuse to abandon the lie. You will begin to take it as truth. So this is why he asks, where are you from? He needs to make sure. At this point, he's trying to save himself already. At this point, Jesus stayed silent. You know, he gave no assurance nor comfort to Pilate. He already knows what is right, yet he refused to do it. You know, when you're confronted with truth and you refuse to do it, there comes a point God will be silent. You ask him, he will not say anything. So here at this point, Pilate became silent. And that agitated from sympathy to Jesus. Now he's angry. You see, because are you disrespecting me? You know, are you this? It's like your kids will ask you, Papa, what shall I do? Okay, this is what you do. Oh, I don't like you to do that. Papa, what should I do? Oh, this is what you do. I don't like you to do it. And then they ask you, Papa, what should you do? You keep silent. You're annoyed. And then they say, and they cry, oh, Papa, what should I do? And you just refuse to talk. Because they're not really interested. They're just wasting your time. You see? So Jesus kept silent. God said in the scriptures, when you continue to ignore his word, there comes a point you will call upon him, and the Bible says, I will ignore you. I will not talk to you. You will have all kinds of calamity. I will look away. You'll be suffering. I'll look away. You see? That's why Jesus kept silent. You have been confronted with the truth. You found it, in fact. I find nothing to charge him with. Here you are. You made a conclusion. He is not guilty. Act on it. He refused. Now, after fear is frantic terror. This is his reaction to the silence of the Lamb. He asked, do you refuse to speak to me? Don't you know that I have the authority to release you and the authority to crucify you? That was an ironic statement. He did not exercise his authority to release Jesus after finding out he is innocent. You know, it's like courtship. The man will say to the woman, you know, I'm talking about the Philippines. I have been courting you for 3 months or 1 year. When are you going to give me the answer? Please just tell me, do you love me or not? And the woman look at him and say, well, I don't love you. I'll give you more time. You know? What is this? You know? So you're not really interested in the truth. I can give you more time. Or you're dating somebody, you have a boyfriend, and that man started not to show up in your dates. And so you ask the man, just tell me the truth. Is there another woman? And the man says, yes, there is. Oh, you're just blinded. I'll give you another chance. Okay. There goes. Now when I'm going to lose my woman. I'm going to lose my man. Now you move from fear to frantic terror. I'm really going to lose that. It's just like an employee who is bragging and arrogant. Let's see, boss, what happened if I resign. Fire me if you want. And the boss says, you're fired. Oh, no, 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 I'm just joking. Because you realize it's hard to find a job. I'm just really joking. Please forgive me. Now you're in frantic terror. You see? That's called bragging. You're not really interested in doing the right thing. You see? And so now, Pilate was bragging. I have the right to release you. No, you don't. He has authority. He has lost his authority, surrendered it to the priest. When you can listen to lies and embrace it, you have lost the authority to speak for the truth. You know, it's just like if you have undisciplined kids, shut up. Don't talk to anybody about how to discipline their kids. You have no right. Yeah, you're a clanging cymbal. Yeah. So I tell people, you want somebody to advise you on how to finish college, talk to people like us. We really did finish college. Don't talk to a high schooler. Talk to a high schooler. You want to have a good relationship? Talk to people like me. I have a good relationship with my wife. Don't talk to people who doesn't know how to keep a relationship. What do they know about it? These are really simple things. And this is when you begin to assess your passion for truth or deterioration to lie. Instead, what we see is the attitude of Jesus that demonstrates he is in absolute possession of himself. You know, you watch a person who knows who he is, and he is right. The guy just don't move. You get annoyed. Oh, you've got to do something about it. Why do I have to do something about it? You got to save this person. Why do I have to save the person? And it annoys you because he is not your slave. You see? It really annoys people when you tell somebody to do something. Like, it's like when some of my board members left and some people are pressuring me, hey, assign a new board member. No, I don't have to. After all the betrayal that I went through, you're going to force me to appoint somebody. You're joking. I'm not that type of person. You see? So I just won't. Plain and simple. You see? And it's annoying to some. Because the moment you stand for your conviction, for what you believe, most people don't have convictions, and most people will stick to lie. And so when you find somebody sticking to truth, it's annoying. Yeah, it's really annoying. And we see it in Pilate. So all he says, oh, well, I'm gonna, I have the power, I have the authority to release you. No, you don't. Jesus was in thought. If you stick to the truth, you are in total control. Well, I may lose money. We're not talking about that. God can give you that. God can bless you with that. You see? That's why you see people who are moving from truth to lie, just frantic. Yeah, just in chaos. That's what lie does. So, from fear to frantic terror, then bitterness. This can be discerned from the question to the crowd, should I crucify your king? This was Pilate's stinging piece of sarcasm now. He hated the Jews who drove him into making an immoral decision. Do you know that if you push somebody to lie, they'll hate you? Yeah, they'll hate you. Parents, learn this. You push your children to lie, they'll hate you. They may embrace you, but they'll hate you. I've seen this so many times. Well, I really don't like this. But my dad, my mom forced me to do this. Pastor said they forced me to do this. Well, you do what is right, you're of age. Yeah, but my mom, my dad forced me to do this. The mom and dad thinks they are having authority. Oh, my kids follow me. No, they don't. The moment you force them to lie, you will see your kids begin to display rebellious attitude that you will not be able to stomach. And you can no longer rebuke them because you lost it. This is the trait, you see. That's why do you really want to know the truth? That's the question that I asked initially. So the old Pilate, who is haughty, cruel, and cynical, just reappeared. He's trying to, as a governor, he has to be decent and, composed. Now he's losing his composure. The old soldier Pilate, who can kill hundreds of people and even maybe thousands, now reappeared. His true nature reappeared. That's what happened when you reject the truth. The old fallen nature reappears. You're no longer in the lie. And people say, what in the world is he doing? I thought he was like this. Well, the old nature reappeared because you rejected the truth. The inscription he ordered to be hanged on the cross, that is, and he fixed it. That is his cold arrogance. What I have written, I have written. Yabang. Yabang. What I have written, I have written. Yeah, but when you found that Jesus was not guilty, you could not set him free. Now all you have is arrogance. It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. Don't do that, because the more you will suffer. This is what I said, that's what I said. That's just arrogance now. Because a person who wants the grace of God will in fact humble himself and begin to say, well, I messed up my life. I'm going to submit to your will. These are simple truths from the scripture. So in summary, Pilate revealed in chapter 18 to 19 that he went through several downward steps. First of all, official indifference. Okay, bring him in. I really don't care. Official indifference. Then he became curious. He wants to know. He's been hearing about curiosity. And then when his wife began to tell him, I have a dream. Don't touch this man. And then he found no charge against him. Then Pilate, you can see intense personal concern. He wants to set Jesus free. But because he did not dare to act on what he knew was right, he gave away to hesitation. By the way, you sit on the truth for long, your decisiveness is gone. Yeah. What you have now is hesitation. Like if you say, I have to change the light bulb. Oh, that's easy. If you don't change it, you will move to procrastination. It's like, I've got to do my papers in school, do my homework. You don't do it right away. You will procrastinate because you hesitate. That's what happened to truth. When you are confronted with the truth and you refuse to act on it, then you will move to hesitation. Oh, that hesitation is time. Time for what? Time for the devil to keep working on you. Because he already knows your commitment to truth shattered already. So now, he's going to work on you. It's called hesitation. It's actually a continual downward spiral to lie. And then fear and frantic terror. Then when you're confronted, arrogance. People whom you think should be humbling themselves end up becoming arrogant. And you say, what happened? Well, that's what happened when you don't like the truth. Arrogance will set. And then bitterness. I've shown you that Pilate became bitter. All of this happened in the presence of the truth. While he was standing in front of Jesus, the truth, and he's looking at the crowd, the religious leaders, lie. All of this happened. You can be coming to church all you want. If you don't act on the truth, you will fall for lie. Okay. And you can be faced with facts that are right. You refuse to act on it, and you'll be in trouble. Yeah. My wife was a mechanic, and the mechanic told my wife, Anne, because of course my wife keeps bringing our cars to him, and you don't call a mechanic to say hello. Hello, I just call to say hello. No, you don't do that. You call a mechanic because you have a problem. So finally, I think the mechanic has mercy on Anne, and said, Ann, before you buy a second-hand car, okay, bring the car here first. I'll diagnose it for you. I'll tell you if it's a good buy or not. And Ann said, yes. Ann is confronted with the truth. Yes. Well, we found a car. That's the Lexus. And she brought it to him. And he thought initially that there was a big problem. There was not a big problem, but initially he thought there was a big problem. But I told my wife, I said, even if there's a problem with the price, because the price is so cheap, I said, we'll pay for it. I said, because if you put the price, it's still a good buy. I was very convinced. And so my wife bought it, and the mechanic says, oh, did you buy it? And she said, yes. Why did you buy it? And my wife was now frantic. Did I do a bad buy? I told my wife, relax. I said, it's cheap. I said, that's cheap. I said, we'll fix it, and the amount will still be okay. But of course, the mechanic was wrong in his diagnosis. He was thinking of something, but actually it was a minor case. But look at the mechanic. He was very devoted to truth. He said, where did you buy it? There's a lot of trouble. Where did you buy it from? And my wife says, from a Korean. Oh, it's okay, because he is Korean. It's really very funny. The moment he found out that my wife bought the car from a Korean, his demeanor changed, because he is also Korean. What happened to truth here? And then the next time he saw him, oh, everything is okay, Ann. Everything is okay. Because you bought it from a Korean, it's okay. What happened to the truth? You see? Now, these are emotional changes that a person goes through. But the right term really is, you become unstable. You are no longer sure. And this happened in front of the truth, in front of Jesus. Okay? So, now let's look to the next passage. Let's examine now faith and unbelief in the crucifixion of Jesus. Okay? Let's start with verse 17. Carrying the cross by himself, he went out to what is called place of the skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. There they crucified him and two others with him, one on either side, with Jesus in the middle. Pilate also had a sign made and put on the cross. It said, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. Many of the Jews read this sign because the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city. And it was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. So the chief priests, by the way, because of those languages, Latin, of course, was the official language of Rome. So even the dispersed Jews are coming once a year for the Day of Atonement, for the Passover feast, can read it and understand it, okay? So the whole world can understand the inscription. That's why it's in three languages, Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. So the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, don't write King of the Jews, but that he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate replied, what I have written, I have written. I mean, tapang. You know. In Tagalog, tigasin. Yeah. Verse 23. When the soldiers crucified Jesus, they took his clothes and divided them into 4 parts, a part for each soldier. They also took the tunic, because the garment of the victim becomes the property of the executioners. So, remember that for the soldiers, this is just another day's work. It's like, if you see somebody being caught by the police, oh, somebody was caught by the police. The police don't react that way. It's just another day of work. It's common. So it's common for people to be crucified in those days, so it's just another day's work. They also took the tunic, which was seamless, woven in one piece from the top. So they said to one another, "Let's not tear it, but cast lots for it to see who gets it." This happened that the scripture might be fulfilled, that says, "They divided my clothes among themselves, and they cast lots for my clothing." This is what the soldiers did. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother, his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleopas, and Mary Magdalene. Except for John, all the men were gone. All of these are women. 3 Marys. Mary, Magdalene, Mary, the wife of Cleopas, of course, Mary, the mother of Jesus. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple he loved, standing there, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his home. From that hour, he did not go back to the house that Joseph built, where his siblings were. From that hour, he said, "Mary, you're staying home with me." By the way, where are his siblings? Huh? No siblings here. Okay? After this, when Jesus knew that everything was now finished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, he said, "I am thirsty." A jar full of sour wine was sitting there, so they fixed a sponge full of sour wine on a hyssop branch and held it up to his mouth. Incidentally, by the way, in the Exodus, the brush that they use to apply the blood is hyssop. Okay? When Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, "It is finished." Then bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. Again, the main theme we have been seeing in this gospel is faith. Now, faith versus unbelief. Again, the purpose of the gospel in chapter 20, verse 31 is that you may believe. So, all of these are written to solicit faith. So what we have to establish are the facts presented in the text and the potential for any reader or listener to believe. Now, of course, if you don't believe, then you go to lie. That's just what the gospel is all about. So let's start with the crucifixion in verses 17 to 18. Now, there are very few words used to describe this event in John. In fact, you will find more description in commentaries and cultural background. How they crucify, some people say it's not here, but it's here. But then some people say it's really here. Because the moment so all of these are historical. They found a skull, a skeleton rather, in Mount of Olives, and it's in one of the, I don't know if you can call it museum. Well, the two legs were actually together like this, and they were nailed here. They were nailed here together, the two legs. So it's not on top of each other. So we know of these historical facts. They're not in the Bible. They're not in John. The gruesome punishment, we can read them from historical backgrounds. But the scriptures did not really dwell on them. Okay? The scripture did not go into detail on how loud was the voice of Christ, how loud were the women crying. That was not emphasized. And I come to think of it, you know, sometimes that's what we love to emphasize. Oh, I was preaching and everybody was crying. Well, anybody can cry. After you cry, what happened? You wipe your tears, and then you go serve the devil again. You see, so that wasn't emphasized. And the Bible, faith is really concerned about transformation, about changing lives. Look, Nicodemus saw Jesus in the middle of the night. And it looks like he walked away. But then we find him later in John, he was defending Jesus. And then later on in the burial, this old man was with Joseph of Arimathea. So the probability is Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, both, we call them secret disciples, indecisive at best, were there. How would they know that Jesus was already dead? There was no text messages. So, they must be already there. And so they ran to Pilate and asked for his body. Now, if you are a disciple of Christ, you're a follower, you will be criticizing people like Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea. But when he was being crucified, you were not there. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus were there. Now, these are all part of what we may call as the surfacing, the coming out of either faith or unbelief. The moment you are put in a critical situation, either faith or unbelief will manifest. Nothing in between. Either faith or unbelief. John was one of the witnesses to the crucifixion. He talked about Jesus carrying the cross. He talked about the place of skull. And two other victims with Christ. Two other criminals were punished with Jesus. John did not, again, place great stress on the physical sufferings of Jesus. Because in those days, Jesus was not the first one to be crucified. Nero at one time, according to historical records, lit the streets of Rome with crucified Christians. So it's a common thing in those days. So it did not need further description or elaboration. So let's jump to verses 19 to 22. In verses 19 to 22, it says, Jesus of Nazareth. The description. Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. So, a sign is normally placed on top of the cross, of the pole, so that passers-by will know what the accusations are. Now, of course, in the movies that you will see, you'll find this. I mean, some illustrations on top of the mountain, and the cross was there. No, cross will be elevated, of course, but sometimes the elevation is just maybe like this, or maybe like this. It's not that high. Okay, so you can jeer at him, you can spit on him, on the victim. Plus, of course, the topography in Israel, it can be going up and down. They don't want to be carrying those crosses up there. So they'll find a level ground and then just put the cross there. I mean, how long do you want the pole to be? You know, so Jesus was literally stripped naked. Now, some people say, well, he's got his tunic on. Well, we know for a fact that his tunic was already gambled on. There are more proof, perhaps, that he was just stripped naked. A victim to be crucified is totally humiliated. You see, that's what they did to Jesus. So they put The accusation was, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. Pilate found no crime, so why did he put up this sign? He already said, I find no charge. He should have put there on the inscription, I found no charge against him. But he already abandoned truth. He already abandoned lie. By the way, in the court of law, there are what you call as false witnesses. And some people sign on sworn affidavits, lies. Yeah. Sworn affidavits. And yet they are lies. We found that, I forgot who's this governor, put a moratorium on death penalty in Illinois, because there was this case. I mean, the police just fabricated some evidences, and they sign on it. You see? So not because it's a sworn affidavit means it's the truth also, because the justice system is no longer just. That's what the problem is. And same here. He said, I find nothing to charge him with, and yet put this thing, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. So why did he put up that sign? It was used by Pilate, first of all, as a means for a sarcastic attack against the Jews. Jesus was crucified because the Jews insists on it. They just keep pushing Pilate. You'll find something. You'll find something. You know. And they insist. Now, they went as far as going against Pilate's will. Therefore, Pilate was announcing to the world, if it says, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, well, who gave the King of the Jews to Pilate? Huh? The Jews. So, if the Jews gave the King of the Jews to Pilate, what is Pilate trying to portray? That the Jews betrayed their king. You are a subject, you have a king, and you actually betrayed your king. In those days, subjects would die for their king. In this case, they'd rather have the king die for no reason. So it was a sarcastic attack against the Jews. Now, if the Romans would crucify them, by the way, in a kingdom, who is supposedly the most important person, the most valuable person in the kingdom? The king. Now, if you betray your king and you give him to the Romans with no charges, if he is the most valuable, now remember, Pilate is Roman. He's not Jewish. Okay? So, if the most valuable person in the kingdom is the king, that subjects would be willing to give their life for the king. But then the subjects delivered their king, the most valuable person in the kingdom, to the Romans. What's the value of the Jews? If their king, who is the most valuable, was given to the Romans as if he is nothing, what is the value of the Jews then? They become worthless. Yeah. That's the message that Pilate is trying to convey. You know, what, you betray your king? That's a no. It will be the honor of the subjects to die for the... Now, by the way, that's what betrayal is. The person who betray just lessens their value. Yeah. That's why Jesus said, it would have been better for that man not to have been born. Now that's Jesus himself saying that in reference to Judas. Would have been better for that man not to have been born. So Pilate is declaring, he is telling the Jews in their face, you are a worthless people. So it upsets the Jews, of course, because now you are insulting them and it's not right. So the inscription is also an ironic statement because Jesus is truly their king. Yeah, he is truly their king. However, from his own lips, his kingdom is not of this world. You see, this is I think, where Christians keeps failing in making the separation. We declare Jesus as our king. But Jesus already declared, my kingdom is not of this world. Remember, the New Jerusalem will be coming from heaven. It'll come down to, and this earth has to be renewed because this earth cannot handle the New Jerusalem yet. This has to be renewed. And so, Jesus is truly their king. But his way is not our way. He demonstrated that he is sovereign not by sacrificing his subjects, but by giving his life for his subjects. It's not by fighting. And so, the failure to understand the kingdom of God drives men to do the most unspiritual things. Yeah. It's like our failure to understand what the kingdom of God is makes us behave improperly. Kingdom of God is righteousness, peace, and joy. People concentrate on the joy. Well, the first is righteousness. Well, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do the right thing. Yeah, but, well, this is the world that we're living in right now. Everybody's doing it. Yeah, but my kingdom is not of this world. You see, and Christians cannot make a distinction. Why would we do that? Everybody else is doing this. The kingdom of God is not of this world. My kingdom is not. If my kingdom is here, then my subjects would have come and fight for me. You know, like a couple of legions would have been dispatched. A couple of legions of angels would have been dispatched. I remember in the book of Isaiah, God released his angel, and 185,000 Assyrian soldiers died. One angel. Can you imagine if Jesus dispatched 2 legions of angels? They're all gone. The whole of humanity is done for. But his kingdom is not of this world. Now remember this. The kingdom of God, the one that we are part of, is not of this world. Yeah. So when people say, well, this is what the world is doing, that's the world. That's not part of the kingdom of God. So that was really ironic. King of the Jews. And it turned out he was really the king of the Jews, you know. The gambling for the seamless garment of Jesus is not brutal at all. We may look at this and say, walang hiya talaga. They are gambling over the garments of Jesus. No, it's not. It's normal. The moment a victim is about to be crucified, he's not crucified in his 3-piece suit, okay? He's going to be stripped naked, and if his clothes are valuable, that's the property now of the soldiers. It's like their loot, you know. And they will split it. But the amazing thing again here is, he's already dying, he's already crucified, and yet, even you can see the sovereignty of God, and Jesus is in control. They did not tear the tunic, so they gamble on it, they cast lots on it, in order that the prophecy will be fulfilled. Remember what Jesus said to John the Baptist? Hey, baptize me. No, you should be the one baptizing me. Let's do this to fulfill all righteousness. That's in the book, that's in the prophecy. That was in the beginning of his ministry. In the beginning of his ministry, he was very concerned about fulfilling the scriptures. Now he's dying. But even on his death, he wants every jot and tittle in the law fulfilled. Oh, mamamatay na. I'll just die anyways. Okay, I don't care what they do with my clothes. Yeah, but the prophecy says they will cast lots on your clothes. So God is still in control. These soldiers would love to tear it just to show disrespect to Jesus because it has been done. You know, they'll do it. And then sometimes they'll throw it to the crowd as a piece of prize for the onlookers. But they gamble. Why do they gamble? In order to fulfill prophecy. Are the Romans interested in fulfilling the Jewish prophecy? No, they are not. God is there. You see, God is there. That's why sometimes when we are starting our walk with God, we are supposedly interested in fulfilling the scriptures. Then as we progress, we become braggarts and arrogant. I'm no longer interested in doing that. You begin to choose. Jesus did not choose. Every prophecy has got to be fulfilled. That's what you call as faithfulness. And so Jesus is still fulfilling the word of the Lord even on his dying moments. The words of Jesus to his mother and to John are few of the words that Jesus mentioned. Not all, how do you call it? The siete palabras, the last 7 words of Jesus on the cross. Very few were written by John. But there is a good passage that John recorded. Because the words of Jesus to his mother and to John are his last words concerning his earthly family. Remember, Jesus has a mother. His dad is dead. That is supposedly the father, Joseph, is dead. He's got siblings. He's got at least 3 brothers, and he's got at least 2 sisters. I really don't know how many they are. We know that James is his brother, Judas is his brother, one of the Judases, not one of the 12, but they were not saved at this point. They don't believe in Jesus. The sisters were just mentioned once. I don't know what happened to the sisters of Jesus. Did they ever get saved? I do not know. I know that James got saved. I know that Judas got saved. But I don't know what happened to the sisters. Nothing was mentioned really. And so they represent now what is going on in the mind of the firstborn son, who has a responsibility to his mother. It recorded during the crucifixion how he feels regarding his earthly family, about his mom, about his siblings. This is the last hour of his earthly life. The moment he dies, 3 days later, the moment he resurrects, he will no longer live the way that he used to. After the resurrection, Jesus did not go to Galilee, to Nazareth, and pick up his chisel and say, let's make new tables. No, this is the end. He no longer roamed around the Sea of Galilee. He did not go to Jerusalem anymore for feast. He was there for 40 days. There is no more record that he went for the Sabbath. There's no more record about these things. That earthly life is done. After this, the moment it's finished, that's done. He will now resume what he set aside in Philippians chapter 2. So, what he said to Mary and to John, the beloved disciple, gives us lesson on how we should treat our families. Okay? Especially, of course, our mothers. Ready? Oh, Ate Evelyn is ready. Well, 26 to 27. Woman, here is your son. And 27, look at John. Here is your mother. Jesus is now discharging of his human responsibilities. Mom, I will no longer be a mom. If the roof is leaking, don't call me now, okay? John is now your son. Mom, if you are tired and I can no longer be here to do that. I cannot cook for you anymore. I cannot make preparations for Sabbath anymore. I cannot make preparations for the festivals anymore. From now on, it will be John. Now my question is this: where in the world are his brothers that he provided for? Remember, he's the firstborn. He took the role of his dad. Where in the world are they? Could Jesus, now morally, as the firstborn, he could say, tell James, okay? I don't care if he doesn't believe me. He's going to take care of you. He knows where my tools are. Let him assume responsibility over my shop. I took responsibility over the shop of my father. Now, let him take responsibility over my shop. No, he didn't do that. Instead, he looked at John. Why did he look at John? Huh? John was there. He was the only one there. He could not entrust him to Nicodemus or Joseph or Maria. Both are old. They need to be taken care of also. The only thing that is present, the only person who's present is John. If Peter was there, would he have entrusted it to Peter? I don't know. It's just a guessing game. But he gave him to John. Leadership is presence. Yeah. Leadership is presence. If you want responsibilities given to you by God, you have to be present. Yeah. He did not tell Cleopas, he did not tell Magdalene, hey Magdalene, go tell Peter, okay, he will take care of his mom. No, you are not present, that's it. If you want God to entrust responsibilities to you, you have to be present. Now, this tells us also, because it discharges human obligation, this tells us also that although at the cross, Jesus met his destiny and his calling. Now, by the way, when he was being crucified, it's not a simple punishment, okay? They whip him. A Jew would whip him 39 times because he may miscount, but a Roman will just keep whipping. They don't care about the count. You know, in fact, a lot of victims die when they're being whipped like that. That when Peter was in the Spirit recollecting the crucifixion, said, by whose stripe you were healed. Not stripes. The account of Isaiah is, by whose stripes we are healed. By Peter's account, by whose stripe, singular. Basically, he was skinned alive. Yeah. Basically, because of the whipping, the whole flesh at the back of Jesus was taken off. It looks like one stripe. I mean, that is what bore our sickness. So when people say, well, Jesus can't heal this, good night. Jesus would not have gone through that suffering. He paid for my sickness. That's why COVID doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to you also. Now some of you are claiming it perhaps. Good night to you. Jesus did not suffer that torture so that you will be saved. Well, this is my family inheritance, diabetes. Jesus died for it, you know. By his stripe, you were healed. Stop claiming those garbage. You have been redeemed by Jesus Christ. Are you here? Okay. So, even though he was dying and is under tremendous pain, still he was not unmindful of his duty to his family. Look, he was on the cross, fulfilling my calling, fulfilling my destiny. Yet he did not forget his mom. You know why Christian leaders, why ministers forget their family, their parents? I'm serving God. Lousy. Jesus was dying. And here he looked at the, maybe if we are suffering, you know, while fulfilling our call, Mom, can you help? And there will be nothing wrong with it. Mom, can you please give me some Coke? I'm thirsty. Mom, can you please go to Pilate? Tell him, enough. No, in the midst of all of that pain and suffering, he looked at the woman and said, "Woman, you are my mom. I am responsible for you. I did not forget you. Therefore, from now on, this is your son." What he is saying is, John is taking my place. You know what that means? I am now empowering John. I will give him the ability to take care of you the way I would. See that? And so, it is totally unchristian for children to ignore their mom. So what about the dad? The dad is dead, so let's not talk about the dad. Forget the dad. It's about the mom. Well, because the dads are supposed to be the one providing for the dads are supposed to be the one taking care of the family, providing for the family. That is the dad's responsibility. I may not have that much, but whenever my wife is in panic, where are we going to get the money? I will tell my wife, don't worry about it. Well, I'm worrying about it. I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And sometimes she'll say, what do you mean? I said, don't worry about it. Why? It's not hers. It's not her responsibility. It's mine. From her house. It's my responsibility. Yeah. And I take it seriously. So, stop using ministry, Christianity, your faith, as a lousy excuse why you don't take care of your mom. Happy Mother's Day, okay? Jesus is still concerned about his mom. Oh, that is all man right there, the humanity of Christ. What an affection. Huh? Now, considering that his mom, remember in the wedding in Cana, surely she doesn't believe fully at that point. And remember when he was preaching in the book of Mark, she was outside. She thought that Jesus was crazy. She thought, along with the brothers and sisters, that Jesus was beside himself. Yeah. In spite of all of that. And how many times did you see Mary in the ministry? Not that much. Oh, but on his dying moment, Mary truly loved his son. Because the Bible says in the prophecy, and look, your heart will be rent because of what he will. Can you imagine this woman was looking at his son, at her son, right? Now, I would not understand the heart of a mother. Why? I am not a mother. I am a father, My wife will look at my kids when they are suffering. Oh. Me, I say, batukan kita rin. Tayo! Because I'm the dad. And here is Mary crying, looking at his son. And literally what? You know what? When he said, "Woman, that is your son." Jesus said to Mary, "Mom, don't worry about me. I'm okay. Yeah. Don't worry about me. I'm okay. By the way, Mom, don't worry about you also. I know Dad is dead and I'm supposed to take care of him. Don't worry about John here. I will enable him. I will give him the ability. I will give him the wealth. And in the remaining life of John, God provided. John became the channel of Jesus providing for his mom. Amen? Mom, don't worry about me. I really believe that we as children should never, because those mothers, they bear us in their belly for 9 months. I think when we get old, we should never give them the problem of worrying about us. That's what Jesus said there. Mom, don't worry about me, okay? Don't worry about me. I'm okay. Because moms worry. That's their specialty. They have a PhD in worry, But a faithful son, a faithful child, Mom, don't worry about me. I'm okay. I know how many times my wife saw it. I will be blessing my mother. Oh, Jose, we heard it's difficult in America right now, please. I said, don't worry about it. Oh, Jose, we're not asking. No, I'm okay. Now, do I have problems? Yes, but it will be very unjust for me to put that burden on my mother. She suffered long enough already. Yeah. Well, it's 12:30.